When the waitress whispered an Italian insult, the Mafia boss leaned in and said, "Say that again," slowly. "Buddy, welcome back, my amazing story family. I'm so happy you're here again. Thank you for always showing up with so much love. If you enjoy stories that grab your heart from the first second, please like, share, subscribe, and drop a sweet comment so we can grow this family together." Now let's dive in, because what happened to Talia that night shocked everyone. Talia Rose was tired. Not normal tired, but the kind of tired that made her bones feel heavy. She worked morning to night at Cafe Rosso, moving from table to table with a practiced smile, even though her heart was never calm. Her phone buzzed every few hours. Another call from the hospital, another bill, another reminder that her mother's condition was getting worse and time was running out. She didn't cry anymore. She didn't have the strength. She only worked, served customers, saved every tiny coin, and prayed the medicine her mother needed wouldn't be delayed again. The cafe was noisy, crowded, hot. Plates clattered. Orders came fast. And Talia moved through all of it like someone fighting a storm alone. But she didn't complain. She didn't stop. Her mother needed her. That was all that mattered. She took in a shaky breath, wiped her forehead, and whispered to herself, "Just one more hour, just one more table." Little did she know, her life was about to collide with someone she never should have met. And from that moment on, nothing would ever be the same. And then the air changed. It was subtle at first, the kind of shift you only notice when the whole room feels it at the same time. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Chairs froze halfway pulled out. Even the steaming coffee machine seemed to quiet down as every head slowly turned toward the door. Veron Kale had walked in. The Mafia boss himself, dressed in a dark suit that carried an authority you could feel before you even understood it. His presence was heavy, controlled, impossible to ignore. And right beside him was Massimo, his closest friend, scanning the room with sharp, cold eyes. Customers quickly looked away. Staff straightened their backs. Fear mixed with respect filled the cafe like thick smoke. But Talia, she didn't look up at all. She didn't even notice the danger that had just stepped into her world. Not yet. The spark neither of them saw coming, but neither would ever forget, began just seconds earlier. Talia had been pouring coffee for a rude, impatient woman who kept snapping her fingers and complaining about everything on the menu. Talia's hands were tired, her mind scattered from worry, and just as the woman hissed, "Hurry up, girl," Talia's grip slipped. The cup fell from her hand and shattered on the floor, hot coffee splashing everywhere. The woman gasped dramatically as if the world had ended and snapped. "Are you blind?" Talia, overwhelmed and frustrated, whispered that small Italian insult under her breath, not loud, not bold, just tired. But the room had gone quiet at the exact wrong moment. And Veron Kale heard every word. He stepped closer, his shadow brushing her shoulder, his voice calm but sharp as a blade. "Say that again," slowly. His eyes held hers, not angry, but intrigued in a way that made her heart stumble. And right there on that messy cafe floor, something dangerous and unforgettable sparked to life. She didn't look away, not even when every instinct told her she should. Instead, Talia lifted her chin, steady and tired but unshaken, and said quietly, "You heard me the first time." For a brief second, something shifted in Veron's expression, a spark of interest, a hint of respect. And he stepped back with a small, unreadable smile. The next evening, when the sun dipped low and the cafe lights glowed warm against the windows, he returned. Same suit, same silent confidence, same corner seat. He claimed he came to cool off, but his eyes followed Talia every time she moved, and everyone in the cafe noticed. That night, when she brought him his usual order, he surprised her with a calm question about her day. One simple question turned into a quiet exchange. Her mother's health, his long nights, her fear of losing more than she could handle, his pressure to lead a world always on the edge. Their voices were low, almost careful, like neither wanted the moment to end too quickly. But someone else was watching. Massimo sat across from Veron, eyes sharp, jaw tight, studying Talia like she was a problem he needed to solve. And later, when they stepped outside, he pulled Veron aside, his voice low but firm, saying, "She doesn't belong in our world, Veron. Don't let this become something it shouldn't." Massimo's warning didn't stop anything. If anything, it seemed to push Veron back into the cafe even more. By the third evening, people no longer pretended not to notice. The Mafia boss of the Kale Empire had a routine now: step in quietly, take the same corner seat, and wait for the moment Talia walked past. She became the only calm part of his day, the only place where his shoulders relaxed and his voice softened without him realizing it. And slowly, she began to talk too. One night, when the cafe was almost empty and the lights felt warm and safe, she admitted in a tired voice that the hospital kept calling about unpaid bills. Her mother needed medicine they couldn't afford. She didn't know how long she could keep working full-time job. Veron didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. He just listened, really listened, with a softness Talia didn't expect from a man everyone feared. But peace never lasted long in his world. Within a week, women connected to Veron started showing up at the cafe, elegant, sharp-tongued, pretending to be customers while staring at Talia like she was a stain on the window. Their eyes followed her with jealousy, their whispers loud enough to sting. And through the corner of his vision, Veron noticed every single one of them. Veron noticed every jealous stare, every forced smile, every whisper that followed Talia as she moved from table to table. And the next evening, before any of them could step inside the cafe again, he spoke to his circle with a calm, icy firmness. No one bothers that place. No one bothers her. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. But the message landed like stone. Still, whispers spread inside the empire. Some of his men Pulim led Massimo aside, saying, "She's a waitress. She must want something. Money. Favors. A way in." Veron heard the talk and shut it down with the same quiet authority. "Enough," was all he said. And the room went silent. But trouble never stayed quiet in his world. Days later, a rival family sent a message. One of Veron's men was hurt during a sudden confrontation. No details, no names, just a clear warning that someone was pushing back against the Kale Empire. Stress tightened his shoulders. His jaw stayed locked. And even though he tried to hide it, Talia noticed. That evening, as she placed his cup on the table, she whispered, "You look tired. What happened?" He hesitated, then said softly, "Betrayal. Someone made a dangerous move. I'll handle it." He didn't give more. He didn't want her anywhere near that world. Later that night, when the cafe had almost emptied and the hum of the lights felt comforting, they talked again, longer than usual. Talia shared her fears about losing her mother. Veron spoke about the weight of leading an empire that never slept. She talked about feeling alone. He admitted he hadn't felt real peace in years. Her honesty, his vulnerability, two broken worlds quietly touching. And when he finally stood to leave, the heaviness in his eyes had faded. For the first time that day, Veron Kale walked out calmer than he walked in. Veron left calmer than he arrived. But peace never lasts long in a world built on secrets. The next morning, a rumor spread through the Kale Empire like smoke. Someone claimed Talia had been seen talking to a man tied to the rival family. It was a lie, twisted and sharp, and it reached Massimo before it reached Veron. Massimo didn't storm into the cafe or raise his voice. Instead, he walked in quietly during Talia's shift, his expression tense, his eyes full of questions and fear for his friend. "Talia," he said softly but firmly, "tell me the truth. Are you involved with the people who hurt us?" The accusation hit her harder than any insult ever could. Her hands shook. She stammered out a desperate, "No." I don't know anyone. I would never. But the damage was already growing elsewhere. Varan's empire demanded answers. His men insisted he cut ties immediately. She's a risk. A distraction. You're losing focus, they said. And for the first time, Varan felt pulled in two different directions. His loyalty to his world, and the quiet connection he had finally found. Talia saw the pressure on him. She saw the way his eyes dimmed, the way responsibility tightened around him like a chain. And that night, overwhelmed and terrified of becoming the reason his world collapsed, she stepped back. She didn't shout. She didn't explain. She simply whispered, "You don't need this trouble. You don't need me," and walked away with tears she refused to let fall. For the first time in years, Varan felt something slip: control. The calm, strategic boss who never blinked at danger felt genuine fear. Fear of losing the one person who looked at him without power, without titles, without fear. Hours later, everything changed. Massimo burst into Varan's office with the truth. The real traitor had been hiding inside their own circle, feeding information to the rival family for months. Talia was innocent. She had always been innocent. And Varan felt the guilt hit deep, sharp, and heavy. He didn't wait for morning. He didn't bring guards or drivers or the armor he usually wore. He went to the cafe after closing time, the lights dim inside, chairs stacked neatly, silence filling every corner. He stood there alone, no empire, no power, just a man searching for the girl who made him feel human again. The quiet cafe felt different with him, standing there alone. Talia stepped out from the back room, surprised, wiping her eyes quickly, trying to act like she hadn't been crying. But Varan saw everything. He always did. He took one slow step toward her and said in a low, raw voice, "I almost lost you, and for a moment, I realized something. You're the only person who looks at me like I'm a man, not a kingpin. Do you know how rare that is?" Talia's breath shook. She looked down, then up again with watery eyes. "I walked away," she whispered, "because I didn't want to damage your life. You already have so much on your shoulders. I didn't want to make it heavier." For the first time since she met him, Varan looked almost human. Softer. He stepped closer, not touching her, just close enough that his voice could reach her gently. "Talia, I won't let this world destroy what we're building. Not again. Not ever." She didn't know what to say. She just stood there, heart trembling, watching the most powerful man she had ever seen speak with a quiet honesty that cut deeper than any threat. A few days later, she got a call from the hospital. Her mother's treatment had been paid in full. Not halfway. Not partially. Completely. Talia froze, tears filling her eyes as she whispered, "Varan, why?" And his answer came simply, "So you can breathe again." He didn't ask for anything. He didn't expect anything. It was compassion, not power. From then on, their evenings at the cafe changed. No more fear. No confusion. Just two people sharing warm moments after long days. He told her about the pressure of leadership. She talked about her dreams and her mother's recovery. He listened. She smiled more. Their connection grew clean, gentle, and steady, built on trust, not titles. Weeks later, at a quiet family gathering inside the Kale mansion, Varan stood tall as always, but this time Talia stood beside him. Not as a queen, not as a trophy, but as the one person he chose to protect with his whole heart. And for the first time in a long time, both of them felt something rare: hope. A soft, gentle, emotional happy ending, the beginning of a new chapter neither of them ever expected. Thank you so much for staying with me till the end, my amazing story family. Your time, your support, and your presence here mean more than I can ever explain. Every like, every comment, every share, every subscription helps us grow into something bigger, warmer, and more connected. I appreciate you deeply, truly. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop a sweet comment for me. Tell me, what part of this story touched you the most? I love hearing from you. We're building something beautiful here, story by story, emotion by emotion, one big family. Until the next one, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay close.